A new $800 million social housing tax. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because we're going to look at an article from The Age sent to me by a viewer, written by Josh Gordon, discussing a new tax. $800 million, everyone. Don't worry, only developers will pay for it, and it's for social housing. You know what happens, everyone? It all gets passed on to the consumers. You're all going to be paying for it. Social housing should not be the aim. The aim should be that the government's interventions in your life are so little that you don't need to depend on subsidized state housing, that people should be able to afford their own housing. This is just going to drive up the costs. The developers are going to pass these all on to the consumers, the end people buying these apartments or these houses or whatever they're developing, or commercial property developers. It's all going to get passed on. We'll all pay for it. So, don't think, it's a social housing levy, that's good. It's another bloody tax that's going to find its way out of your pocket. You won't even realize it. Just look at how much tax you're paying on petrol. Just go buy a carton of beer, look how much tax you're paying on there. What about smokes? Okay, they tax you. Levy's just another word for tax. So, developers to face a new $800 million social housing levy. Property developers will be hit with a new $800 million annual levy to fund an extra 1,700 social and affordable homes each year. Under an Andrews government overhaul, the industry claims will add almost $20,000 to the cost of a typical new home. There you go. 20 grand. Housing affordability is something that we're all worried about. People are struggling to get into houses. You've got people putting off having a family because they can't afford to get a house. They're too scared to do it. And now, Dictator Dan, another 20 grand per house. Okay? It's not the developers that pay it. It'll be more cost. They'll pass it through. Hey, it may even up the, it may be good if you charge a percentage rate on, architectural fees traditionally were percentage. So if the construction cost goes up, your fees go up. In a move that has infuriated Victoria's building and property sector. From July 2024, all newly built developments with 3 or more dwellings. 3 or more dwellings. That's not big developments. Or lot subdivisions will be forced to hand over 1.75% of the expected project value. 1.75%. Well, one benefit of this is we'll have more people getting out of Victoria, and that will help drive up Brisbane property prices. So my house will go up in value even more. Won't that be awesome? This is a tax. Everyone will pay it. 3 houses is not a big development. You can get 2 blocks and split them into smallers and put the 3 little row houses on there. 1.75%. That's another tax, another cost. Shit, how much tax are we paying? Robin Hood tax. It's bullshit. It's not a Robin Hood tax. It's not going from the rich. It's going from people who are struggling to get into housing already, who just happen to get in there. Maybe if the government didn't sting us with taxes again and again and again and again and again, we wouldn't have all these issues. The new tax, known as the Social and Affordable Housing Contribution, is expected to rake in $800 million a year. Money the government says will flow into the existing Social Housing Growth Fund to pay for more social and affordable housing, creating 7,200 jobs annually. How many jobs is it going to destroy? If people have to save up an additional $20,000 just to get into a house, or borrow an additional $20,000, how much of an impact will that have on their retail spending? Where's the modelling for that? Let's see it. It's just another tax. The Robin Hood move, which will only apply in Melbourne, Geelong, Bendigo, and Ballarat. Oh, only. For now. Okay, for now. Don't worry. It'll be everywhere. What, Ballarat and Bendigo? They're not, super glamorous cities. Don't get me wrong. I like Sovereign Hill. Still. Adds to a growing list of levies and taxes imposed by the government on wealthier businesses and individuals to fund social policy initiatives. This is what you get with Labor. They steal your money and they give it to other people. And then you get to a point where people are thinking, why the hell am I working? Why am I starting a business? Why am I slogging it out when you see someone who's not working, getting government houses, and can sit on their ass and play computer games? Okay, this is why Australia, in some regards, we're becoming a bloody lazy nation. All of this socialist shit that's coming into our country, and it's getting worse. Okay, we're a bunch of dobber bloody Karens, dobbing each other in for anything, particularly in Victoria, and now they're taking more money out of your pockets to pay for social housing. The goal should be to a point where our civilization and economy is doing so well, the state doesn't need to intervene to this. Maybe we just provide, mass factories with beds that people need for emergency periods. That'd be more cost effective than this. The list includes the mental health levy announced in last year's state budget, under which businesses with more than $10 million in wages pay a 0.5% levy from this year, raising more than $800 million over 4 years. Maybe the burden that we have living day to day by all the cost of living increases, petrol, everything, maybe the bloody lockdowns that Dan Andrews had are causing these mental health issues. Just maybe. Another bloody tax. It also includes so-called windfall gains tax, under which developers and land speculators who reap windfall gains when their property is rezoned will be hit with 50% tax if the gain is worth more than $500,000. Treasurer Tim Pallas said the new tax makes good economic sense. Well, to a Labor thinker, yes, it would. It's another way to steal money out of people. Under the latest changes, social housing properties will also be exempt from paying rates, bringing them in line with hospitals and schools. This will be phased in over 4 years from July 2023. They're still going to use the bloody services that the councils provide. Do people in social housing not go to the libraries? Do they not get their garbage collected? Do the streets not get cleaned for them? The government is also promising to reinvest every dollar of the $54 million currently spent on public housing rates back into public housing maintenance and improvements, such as kitchen and bathroom upgrades and better open spaces. Treasurer Tim Pallas said the new tax would affect less than 30% of all new residential planning permits, declaring it makes good economic sense. And let's not forget that in the last 12 months, Victoria issued more residential planning permits than any other state, not in relative terms, in absolute terms, he said. Yes, well, that's thanks to the federal government and their home builder program. Okay, so whoop-de-doo. It will also allow, and that's more tax we've got to pay. It will also allow the government and future governments to build more homes for people who need them. And will also create more jobs for more Victorians, and of course, that makes good economic sense. Yes, but it will create a burden on a whole lot of people trying to buy a bloody home. We're becoming a nation of bludgers. Okay? You're not rewarded for working hard, building a property. You're just seen as a fat cat that they can milk the bloody money out of. This is what you get with Labor, guys. Okay? This type of shit. Rather than making it easier for people to get education, making it easier for people to start businesses. No, you've got so many bloody hoops you need to jump through. They're doing this, another tax. The property, one of the few sectors that kept working. Planning Minister Richard Vinn said it was the first time a government had committed to such a broad-ranging set of reforms to put the social housing system on a more sustainable footing. This will commence in July 2024 to give industry time to adjust, he said, for prices to go up. The announcement prompted an angry response from the Urban Development Institute of Australia's president, Tom Travaskas, who said it was yet another tax and add tens of thousands of dollars to the cost of new homes. Yeah, he's 100% right. All of this bullshit, you end up paying. We end up paying when you buy a house, one way or another. Okay? It all sounds good. the inner city, suburban, green voting civil servant who hasn't been impacted by any of this shit in the last 2 years of government intervention, probably thinks it's really good. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. We need to get the social housing, sipping on their soy latte shit with a paper cup now because we can't have plastic anymore, with a wooden spoon that tastes like crap that's probably got more embodied energy in it than a plastic spoon. However, rather than accepting that social housing is critical state infrastructure and an issue of community-wide importance, that it requires a community-wide solution, the government has made the decision to levy the residential development industry and, by extension, home buyers. He said the industry had a role to play in delivering social housing, but it should not be paying the cost for 30 years of government underinvestment, which has led to a shortfall in new social housing and adequate maintenance of existing housing. Community Housing Industry Association Victoria Acting Chief Executive Jason Padurian said the announcement would mean more houses for more Victorians in need, but beyond the government's already announced $5.3 billion big home housing build. You know what it'll also mean? It'll probably drive more people to need social housing. Remember, it's another cost, another burden that they're putting on you. Community housing organisations are already working in partnership with government and local communities to build new homes where the need is greatest, including for family violence survivors, Aboriginal Victorians, and people living with disabilities or mental illness, he said. The Property Council of Australia's Victorian Executive Director, Danny Hunter, said the government was intending on taxing new home buyers to cover structural flaws in the underfunded social housing by successive governments. Ms. Hunter said there was no walking away from the fact the levy would increase prices for new homes. It's a new tax. The new tax sends yet another signal to Australian and international investors that Victoria is a high-taxing jurisdiction with an over-reliance on Victorian homeowners to fund their announcements, she said. The council estimates the new levy would result in a price increase on median houses, on the median house being the equivalent of receiving an increase of 38.8% to the rate of stamp duty. Means an extra $19,600 on the median price of a new home in metropolitan Melbourne and $12,110 on the median price of a new unit. Ms. Hunt said it was the 10th new property-based tax the Andrews government had introduced. Why are you voting for this idiot? Why are you bringing them back in? Probably because a lot of these people already have their home. I'd love to see the demo breakup. Well, I know last time we looked at the demo breakup, a lot of the young people support this shit. They're voting for the taxes and the interventions that are locking them away from building wealth. I bet you they'd vote in a death tax too. I bet you people would get those greedy boomers, all the young people. Stupidly voting in a death tax, not realizing they'd be, shooting themselves in the foot. The Housing Industry Association's Victorian Executive Director, Fiona Neal, said home buyers already contributed to half of Victoria's tax revenue now. Half. Buying homes. Half of the tax for the entire state. In Melbourne, 38% of a new home is made up of taxes, fees and charges. 40% nearly. This new tax will see land and house prices being pushed further out of reach of new home buyers. They don't give a shit. They probably want you. They want you to stay poor and needing, depending on the government. Labor will take care of you with your social housing. HIA estimates that this tax could add over $6,600 to the cost of land for new homes. Add stamp duty and GST, along with many more costs, and the tax could cost more than $20,000 for a new home buyer, adding to their mortgage repayments. Let's talk about this one, guys. What do you reckon? I need a shot of coffee of this one. Another Daniel Andrews tax. And I bet you he'll get back in. He's more popular than people realise. People are going to leave Victoria. It's going to be harder. Do people not see this as a burden? This is a taxation burden on people trying to improve their lives. Do they just not get it? Or do they not care? Do they not care? Maybe that's it. They don't give a shit. Another tax, another expense. More. Oh, you have a house, you must be rich. Sure, it cost a shitload more than previous generations. You've had to sacrifice and work your ass off to get to it. We'll just tax you even more. And the people will vote for him again. I am really hoping this next federal election we will see a bloody shake-up in our political class. Love to see some miners get in there, some low-tax parties get in there. Because this is just another burden on people trying to better themselves. Okay? We don't want social housing. You don't want people living in social housing. That is an emergency thing that should be provided by charity organizations. You want the state to reduce its burden on the citizens so then less people are dependent on these type of things. Hey, what's 20 grand? Anyway, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know your opinion on this one. What do you reckon? Would you be happy to pay extra taxes? Or is it just going to drive more people to go stuff it? What's the point? What's the point in working, trying to get ahead? I can see why. You know? People don't have enough capacity. What's the point? Better to live less stressful. Or go overseas. Flee the country. Thanks for watching. If you're a fan of the channel and enjoy the content I produce, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. Sign up for SelfWealth or Stake. Use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve or AussieBroadband. And finally, you can buy our merch from HeiseSays. Guys, thanks for watching. And I want to point you to this video I did recently about, well, Argentina's inflation rate going over 40... No, not inflation. Interest rate going over 40%. So, hey, it could be worse. It could be worse. Or maybe that's where you could move and get a lot more bang for your dollar. I wouldn't recommend it. See you next time.